Hello lamp fans. This video is going to give you some tips on how to take apart oil lamps that are stuck with kerosene and that are fouled and you don't want to break it. So this is my second attempt at this video. The first one I had to garbage it because I had my ultrasonic cleaner going. It was cleaning some parts for a lamp and it really messed up the audio track. So I'm going to start this again. And unfortunately, I don't have those lamps in the shop that I was working on then, but I have a new lamp that I have here. And I have some other lamps that I'll show you for different techniques. So I'm just going to go over here and grab one more right here, just a font, just so we have an idea of what you could be faced with depending on the situation. So this is really common where you have a brass burner screwing into a glass thread. So this is a red beehive, very nice shape. I'll come back to this in a minute. Just got this, but it is seized, and I will break the burner or crack the lamp if I force it. Then we have our second, which is basically a metal on metal. And then we're gonna have metal on glass. So a lot of the time when you're taking them apart, sometimes you're gonna break something. So you might have a sacrificial part. So on this one here, if I wreck the burner, I don't care. I have a box of burners. I can piece one together and get it up and running. I don't want to break the lamp. On this one here, much more rarer. This doesn't twist in, but this has got a locking mechanism. It's got like a bayonet pin that pushes in and then locks. So those can be a little trickier but normally they're in the lock position. So everything unthreads counterclockwise, lefty-loosey, righty-tighty. So left on this guy here to take this off. And this one here, we have a collar that is cemented on. So, I mean, worst case scenario, if I break the collar, I do have broken lamps when I keep this part from, and I could re-put one on. But the whole idea is that I don't want to crack the glass. So this part can be sacrificial, but this part can't. Tools that you will need. I use basically citric acid. It's a powder mix. I have pails of it. I mix it up and I can soak things in it. I had to invert a lamp very similar to this last week and let it sit overnight. It took me 3 days to get that apart, and it took me a couple hours to get one of these apart, but it was a collar system like this. So other things you'll need is penetrating fluid. I use damp rags, a heat gun, and a propane torch. You just got to be really careful that you don't burn yourself or burn the house down, or apply too much heat, because too much heat will melt the solder and make the whole thing fall apart. This lamp here I'm reworking. I was using it as an outside one, but it's all kind of gummed up and it doesn't work well. So I'm just going to take it apart and clean it and make it work nicer. So I always start with best thing to do for, let's say, a center draft lamp is I'm going to remove this piece. I'm going to remove the flame spreader, and then I'm going to pull the wick out. I will throw the wick in the garbage because they generally stink, and that way it'll allow me to get inside here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to spray this generally with the penetrating fluid and then a little bit of heat, and then work it by hand. I always use hand. I don't use tools because tools, you put anything on this, you will bend this in short order. So a wet rag on this, a damp rag I should say, will allow you to get enough purchase on it to get it spinning. But always take your time. I might just take this apart and then just invert it into that pail of citric acid and let it sit for several hours, and that'll clean it all out. You got to be careful with citric acid though, because it cleans brass nicely, but the other lamp I put in had nickel plating on it, and when I pulled it out, it was all black, and I kind of went, oh my God, I think I ruined it. But I didn't. It cleaned up nicely, and it's on display. Actually, I might show it to you when I'm done. Same with this. You want to be very careful on how much heat you use. I always start with a hot air gun, and then some of this, penetrating fluid, and then twist by hand. I would never, ever use a propane torch on a glass lamp. Just putting that out there. I would never do that. This one here, the other one I had, as I said, it took me 3 days because there's a lot of metal for it to bind. And even after taking it apart and cleaning it, just putting it back together, it's really tight. but that's the way it was built. So this is the one I would use a torch on. This one I would never use a torch on. I affect the glass. Another great tool is the black light too. So this helps you pick out flaws and stuff. So right now we're looking at, this is called Amberina, which is just fluoresces differently. And then you can see there's a bit of paint there. But I'm gonna go over to this side here. Where is it? Boy, it's so hard to do two things with one hand. Right there. Nope. Sorry. Where is that flaw? There is a flaw right on this, but it's a factory flaw. It's not like it's, I think that's it right there. It's an air bubble right there. See if we get it closer. That's an air bubble. So this lamp I would rate as perfect, other than a factory blemish, which is okay. They let it out of the factory. So I would say this lamp will be a 9 out of 10. No real scratches, but it needs to be cleaned and taken apart gently. And, you know, fix up the burner, polish it and stuff. And I'll probably sell that. I'll probably put that on eBay. So that's the tricks of the trade right there. Citric acid, you can use lye, but it's a lot more stronger and burns your hands. And penetrating fluid, heat, and moist rags. As I said, avoid propane torches with glass lamps. Let's go take a look at the lamp shop and I'll show you or the lamp museum here, I should say, and I'll show you the one that I successfully took apart and cleaned up. So I bought this lamp on eBay. It came from down east, the Maritimes, and they should have said, you know, this thing is seized solid, because it took me 3 days literally to get this lamp apart and back together. And there it is. So Plume & Atwood, Royal. It's a fancy font. I don't know what they called it back then. I already had one very similar in brass finish, different base, very similar handles. But this one here cleaned up really nice. A lot of scratches on the nickel, but that's kind of part and parcel with a, you know, 1895-ish lamp. But anyway, so that one didn't spend a lot of money on, but I did spend a lot of time in it. The wick was really gross. The burner, as I said, took 3 days to get it off. The other one that I had was over here. I sold it the same day, actually. Was one of these guys, a white Fertique, and it was seized solid. I cleaned it, took it apart, cleaned it, reworked the burner, and sold it literally instantly on eBay. Anyway, I hope this helps, but just be careful, take your time, don't rush it, and you should be successful. Anyway, have yourselves a great day.